Hi, everybody. This is George. Wanted to say thank you for the effort you've been putting into class. I know it's not the only thing tugging at your time, so I'm hoping that the first couple of weeks have been meaningful and you've been able to grab some tools. Because when we design and develop training, we're forced to look from other people's perspectives, which, from my perspective, that's just a fantastic way to grow. So let's jump into week three. Week three, we're talking all about learning objectives. So there's an interactive video right here. This is an interactive video where we're going to be discussing, and you're going to get a chance to actually write some uh, learning objectives. So hopefully what you get here is the ability to create these learning objectives and put them in your instructional design proposal that is due this week. So this week, I wanted to specifically look at our instructional design proposal and give you a little more detail and hopefully clarity. If you have any questions, please always feel free to give me a text, email, call, whatever works best. So here, let's just walk down we have our topic, and with our topic, state choosing a brief background of why you're choosing the topic. So why are you choosing the topic and what's driving your choice of that topic. So if you are able to pick something that you can actually use at work, design something for work, that is fantastic. Please feel free to do so. But pick something meaningful, something you know why your choice is being driven in that direction. And describe your audience. Audience is more than the demographics, ages 18 to 32, and all that good information. That's important. But what's even more important when we describe our audience is what's meaningful for them. The old WIFT, what's in it for them. So this is where we really have to look and define what's meaningful for them, because once we define that within our audience, we have a much easier way of building and creating the training, because that gives us our framework on how to approach. Even if it's a wide audience, you can have an audience from ages from teenagers to 90 years old, but you can still, by understanding your audience and what's driving them to be there and learn from this, then you can come up with more effective ways to create the training and build the training. And then you're going to outline your knowledge, skills, and abilities. You can put this on a list or a table. Knowledge, skills, and abilities. What do I need to know to be able to accomplish to be able to accomplish my primary objective? We're going to get into objectives in a minute. And what skills do I have to have? What abilities are needed? So that's just our KSAs. You can also that should be linked with our needs analysis, because as we're doing our needs analysis, like we discovered last week, we know that when we're defining our needs, we have to use a specific method, which you can use any from the table of our textbook. So our textbook has a table that lists all the different strategies for your needs analysis. So at this point, we don't need a finished needs analysis, but we need to know the methods. Will it be interviews with SMEs, going through documentation, walking through the job process, different things like that. So list 2 to 3 strategies and why you will use these strategies. So that will be very helpful. And as you list your needs analysis strategies of why, they're always going to pertain to our KSA, so that it ties in. And it does that pretty naturally, so you don't really have to worry about making that connection. It will do that as you follow through the process. Now, your training program outline. Notice here we have, let's switch to blue, our KSH, knowledge, skill, or activity. So introduction, they're going to engage in an icebreaker. So the important key here is the learners first. What the learner is going to do is important. What the instructor is going to do, that's important as well, but it comes after the importance of the learner. So that's just kind of important to remember that, because what they take away is more important than what you're bringing. Because remember, no matter what the experience is, we're all going to take something different away from it. So our focus has to be on that learner activity, because that's where they're going to make the connections with the learning, and they're going to engage in the learning. It's our job to facilitate that. So, for instance, training program outline, introduction could be first, and then you're going to engage in whatever it is according to your topic. So if it's going to be, let's say, management leadership training on how to give feedback. So you know what, maybe the next learner activity is going to be engage in feedback process or something like that. So for our final product, we're actually going to have our objectives here. Instead of KSAs, we're actually going to write our objectives, but we're working on those this week. So we're going to do those. We're going to further define them as we go. Strategies for job transference. This one is a big deal because what happens is quite often in assessments, there's level 1 through 4 with Kirkpatrick's model. Level 1 is your smile sheet. Level 4 is the outcome. Did it transfer to the job? And generally, we don't judge transference to a job until 2 to 3 months after the training has occurred. And the reason that is because a lot of times people will come fresh out of training and they'll do what they're supposed to do on the job. They're going to transfer to me initially, but then what happens is different things like time constraints, lack of tools, different things can happen on the job to influence if they're going to use what they've been trained to do. So usually we can say that learning has taken place, or that job transference has taken place 2 to 3 months after the training event has occurred. And think of this as part of your evaluation strategies. So your KSA or your task, so what knowledge, how we're going to evaluate if they know that knowledge. So for instance, if it was let's go back to our management skill, which would be a feedback that we were talking about, how to properly give feedback. The task would be give feedback. And how would you evaluate that? Well, a written test really wouldn't do the job here because you have to be able to feel people, hear people speak. So you want to actually evaluate them giving some feedback. So a role play, something like that may be the evaluation. So what I'd like us to do is I'd like us to think beyond just normal test sort of things, but define our evaluation as what is meaningful, because we can also use evaluation to be part of the learning process as well. Because as our managers giving feedback, we can give feedback to the manager on how to do even better. So not only can it be an evaluation, but it can be a part of the learning process where they can take things away as well. And that works as if this is a manufacturing course or anything else. This can be the case as well. So just to be clear, this proposal is the same thing you're going to do for your final project. So make sure it's something meaningful, something you want to do. And the length of our text here for our proposal is not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is the clarity, specifically the clarity in what we just discussed right here. If you can use tables, bullets, things like that, shoot for clarity. Think of yourself as a consultant and you're writing this proposal for a company, so they hopefully hire you to do the job. So if you think of it from that perspective, you want to be succinct and clear. So my key here is when I look, did you define strategies that will ensure the learners trained on the job? Are a sufficient level of KSAs, learner activities, instructor activity, and the time, is that in there? What method will you use for needs analysis? So this is not an essay. This is not an academic paper. Think of yourself as a consultant and you want to get the job. So this is your opportunity to be creative. So I hope that helps. If you have any questions, please contact me. I'll be putting on another Lunch and Learn this week. I'll post the date and time in the announcement. So have a great week.